Meanwhile, we're hearing more personal health stories from some of the entertainment world's biggest stars. In the new Paramount Plus series, The Checkup with Dr. David Agus, Amy Schumer, Nick Cannon, Jane Fonda, Lily Tomlin, and others share their struggles. Here's a preview.
Did you drink a lot when you were younger?
Yeah. We started drinking early. I started drinking when we were like 12.
Really?
This is Saturday, May 14th, 1994.
My new patient, Amy Schumer, is unapologetically honest about her health. From binge drinking.
I one time came out of a blackout while I was awake, and there was a guy in my room that I didn't remember meeting.
To her recent plastic surgery and the pregnancy that nearly broke her.
It was a full 9 months of being violently ill. I didn't even hear the words hyperemesis until 6 months in.
Hyperemesis gravidarum is a severe and persistent nausea condition during pregnancy. Amy documented her ordeal and shared it on social media.
Why did you say, hey, listen, everything I go through, I'm going to tell people?
I feel moved to share what's going on. When I hear about other people with my same struggles, I feel better. I feel less alone.
Nick Cannon opens up about his ongoing battle with lupus and the devastating loss of his infant son, Zen.
When we took him to the doctor, they noticed that his head was larger than it should have been at 2 months. That's when, they did a lot of tests. They didn't let him leave the hospital. And so you could imagine, you think you're taking, your son in to get a checkup for asthma. And to know that, he gets diagnosed with brain cancer, that was a shock.
And two of the most iconic women in entertainment, Jane Fonda and Lily Tomlin, share a few laughs about aging.
In season 2 of Grace and Frankie, you had an amazing scene where you looked at one of the issues that was facing women as they get older.
People really liked the fact that we were making vibrators, and people would write us. I'm on social media. I would get comments from people that were very supportive, and they really liked the fact that we did that.
Many of my relatives wanted me to send them one.
I want to bring in CBS News medical contributor Dr. David Agus to talk more about, well, I'll let Anne-Marie ask about this, what we just heard there.
Well, this is not so funny. The first question is actually about Amy Schumer, which I was really surprised to hear about. I knew about some of the issues that she had after the birth of her child. The thing about this sort of stuff, Dr. Agus, is that women don't talk about it.
Right.
There's this idea that when you're pregnant, you're glowing, and it's the best time of your life.
Or morning sickness is just the thing that,
Yeah, and so to hear that, you could be violently ill for the entire time and being pregnant is not fun at all. She said that she felt alone. What do you want viewers to take away from the conversation?
Yeah, I think that's the key, is she did feel alone with what she was going through. And, to normalize this for other people is tremendously important, is that lots of women go through this. In addition, she talked about growing up with her endometriosis and eventually having her uterus removed and what that was like, the pain involved and not knowing what was happening. And then to be able to unveil that for other women in the country so they don't feel alone in their struggles. Again, I just think is powerful and important.
Dr. Agus, I want to ask you about Nick Cannon, because we were all shocked by the news when we heard about his baby and brain cancer and dying. And I just wanted to hear from you what your takeaway was, because obviously the world is watching this and seeing this happen, and we don't really know the internal monologue that people have when something this horrible, this tragic happens. And we don't even understand perhaps the pain and the suffering that they're going through on the inside, because on the outside, they put on a brave face. What did you learn?
When his wife and Nick were talking to the doctors, and the doctor said, chemotherapy is not going to help your child probably. And they decided not to do it. I mean, it was such a powerful story and obviously emotional. No parent should have to go through this, and no child should have to go through this, but they do. And we have to bring it into the open. And then Nick talking about his lupus, presenting with a blood clot in his lung and kidney failure, and how he almost died from that. again, he's talking about this being vulnerable and emotional to help others.
Yeah, I'm so glad he's talking about lupus because I feel like there are a lot of people out there who suffer with lupus and they don't.
Most people don't even know what it is.
They don't want to share, because you can sort of not, you don't necessarily have overt symptoms. And so I think people feel embarrassed to say, I'm not going to come out tonight or I'm not going to have a drink, and not to say why. And lupus affects people in various different ways. So I think it's great that you're doing. We talked about this before. It's not surprising since a lot of people gather during Thanksgiving, but I wonder how concerned we should be moving forward. A lot of people are going to be gathering over the next couple of weeks with the holidays.
So the good is RSV is kind of stabilizing, going down, but certainly the flu and COVID-19 are up and staying up. And so as we gather for the holidays, we still have time. Get your flu shot if you can, please. This is a bad flu season because there's no immunity to influenza because a couple of years we were away from interacting with each other and we never got it. At that same point, COVID-19 is still here, and the new variants are strong. The new booster, the bivalent booster, does protect against them. So I kind of feel like a broken record, but get that booster, get that influenza shot if you can going into the holidays. It will be much better for you, and especially for grandma and grandpa who are higher risk and will be with you during the holidays.
Dr. Agus, it seems more and more people who have never gotten COVID, we used to talk about them as unicorns. I was one of them for a long time, didn't have it throughout this entire pandemic. And then just last month, it got me. Other people that I've known have lasted the entire pandemic without being infected are now getting it. What is your thought behind what's going on?
Yeah, I mean, you got it. I'm in the same boat as that. I got it in August and I had gone for most of the pandemic without it. And unfortunately, it got me. This new strain is tremendously infectious, much more infectious than the prior strains. 94% of the country now estimates have had COVID-19. So that's a staggering number if you think about it. There are a few unicorns out there. You know who you are. But make sure, if you can, again, to get that bivalent vaccine. Having immunity from having had COVID is great, but having the extra T-cell boost from the vaccine, I think, is more beneficial.
So more and more cities are encouraging indoor masking again. I want to get your take on it, whether or not you think it's a good idea. I spoke to a doctor earlier in the week, and she said, part of the issue with masking is that's also the reason why our immunity is not as strong when it comes to the flu and that sort of thing, because we haven't been exposed over the past couple of years. So, could you see a stronger recommendation when it comes to masking coming from the CDC? What's your take on masking?
So first of all, it doesn't make any sense. The reason we masked early during the COVID was the hospitals were full and we had to mask. Right now, if you have a high-risk condition, you're elderly, you've got other medical issues, you should probably mask if you're indoors in a crowded situation. If you've had your flu shot and you're updating your COVID vaccines, it's probably not as necessary to mask. There's no downside to masking if you want to be protected. You want to go into the holidays without being sick and harming your relatives, you may want to mask over this next week. So there's no risk you missing Christmas dinner, you missing, a holiday brunch, all of which are possible if you get sick. So masking does have its upsides, but it's also a pain, and we're tired of it, and I get both sides.
All right, Dr. David Agus, thank you. News is a division of Paramount Global.